Here's a thought. Why not call good books and cassettes tapping the treasure of ideas? That's it, tapping the treasure of ideas, like you're doing with this program. And if somebody's got a good excuse for not tapping the treasure of ideas for at least 30 minutes every day, or spending the money and getting the books and cassettes, I'd like to hear it. Some excuses you wouldn't believe. I say, John, I've got this gold mine. I've got so much gold, I don't know what to do with it all. Come on over and dig. John says, I don't have a shovel. I say, well, John, get you one. He says, do you know what they want for shovels? Hey, invest the money. Get the cassettes and books. The best money you can spend is money invested in your self-education. Don't shortchange yourself when it comes to investing in your own better future. Mr. Schoaf got me started on my library when I first met him. He said to me, become self-educated. Standard education will get you standard results. Check those numbers and see if that's what you want. And if it isn't, if you want something better than standard, you must become self-educated. So I went to work on my library, and I now have one of the best. Schoaf recommended a couple of books in particular to get me started. Now, I had a Bible, that's 66 books, so that was a pretty good start, and my parents saw to it that I had a good study of the Bible. But the first book Mr. Schoaf told me to get was the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. If you don't already have it, it's a great one to add to your library. Earl Nightingale has put it on cassette. The title should intrigue you, Think and Grow Rich. I read it several dozen times. Schoaf said repetition is the mother of skill, and if you could have seen my bank account at the time, you would have known I needed lots of that kind of repetition. Some of the ideas in that book made major changes in my life. As I look back now, the book was worth thousands, and I bought it for pennies. I learned a very valuable lesson. There can be a great deal of difference between cost and value. Before I met Mr. Schoaf, I used to ask, how much does it cost? After I met him, however, I soon learned to ask, how much is it worth? I started basing my life on worth instead of cost, and everything changed. So that was one book he recommended, Think and Grow Rich. The next book he recommended I get was a book on nutrition. Schoaf said, study nutrition. Vitality plays an important part in doing well. Some people don't do well because they don't feel well. It's not that they're not intelligent, it's that they're ill. They don't have the fire and the vitality to do well.
If you're a leader in this room, how many consider yourself a leader in what you do for a living? Let me see your hands. I figured almost everybody. So if you're a leader, that doesn't mean other people follow you, by the way. It just means you live life on your terms. You don't settle for less than you can do or be or share or give. So that's your mindset. Then you got to say, okay, if I'm really going to be a leader in my life, then I need to own my energy, my certainty. I can't just wait till I feel good to do things. I got to be able to get myself to feel good, and not phony and not fake. So I'd like to show you as a leader, your skill as a leader, your number one skill that makes you a leader is your ability to influence. Is it true? And who do you have to influence first? That's right. If you can't influence you, you're going to influence somebody else. But your ability to influence the thoughts, the feelings, the emotions, the behaviors of other people. If you do that, then you will be able to engage the world and yourself. So how do we do that? Well, to influence other people, hear me now, to influence other people, you have to know what already influences them. If you try to get your kid to clean the room the way it would work for you, I promise you it probably doesn't work that way for them. Everyone's different, but there are some universals. And one thing that influences all of us is our state. If you're in a pissed off state, if you ever had a friend do something nice and you're in a pissed off state and you snap at them and you feel bad later on, it was just the state you're in. Who knows what I'm talking about here? Say, So we need to train ourselves to be in a better state. And the second thing that affects what we do long term, besides our state, that's what affects things moment to moment, is we all have a set of beliefs or expectations, or we might call it a blueprint for how life's supposed to be. When life is in alignment with our blueprint, we're happy. We're not, we're upset.
So it got to the 10th guy, and they called his name, and nobody went up. And they called his name again. They said, well, looks like number 10 isn't here. We're going to go to next week's list. Steve Harvey, come on up. I looked at that girl, Gladys, I said, it's crazy. I said, there's somebody in here got the same name I got. She said, you really can't be this stupid. She said, boy, that's you. And the audience clapped again. It was all white audience. I run up on stage, I ain't got nothing. First thing I say to the audience is, hey, I appreciate y'all clapping, but I ain't supposed to be here. I'm on next week's show. They white, they laugh. So I said, no, really, I ain't got nothing for y'all. So the girl Gladys yelled out, tell them about when you was boxing. So on the way down, I had told her this story about boxing. So I did the boxing joke. These people was in the flow laughing. So then I ain't had nothing else. So I had wrote some jokes for my buddy AJ Jamal that I hadn't sold to him yet. So I said, well, hell, let me try these. So I did them jokes. They died laughing. They brought me off stage. They brought all 10 of us up on stage. They had a clap off. That night, I won the clap off. I won amateur night, October 8th, 1985. They paid me $50. I get in the car. I'm 40 minutes from my house. Gladys is driving me home. I'm crying the entire time. I can't stop crying. She said, what you crying for? It's just $50. I said, no, you don't understand. This ain't $50. I've been born to it. This ain't $50. This God answering a prayer of mine that I've been praying for 20 years. This ain't $50. This is what I'm going to do the rest of my life. I went to work the next day, October 8th, 1985, and quit my job. I have done nothing since October 8th, 1985, except one thing. I've been telling these here jokes. That's all I've ever done. That gift that God gave me. You know, the Bible says your gift will make room for you. It'll make room for you. See, if you're not doing your gift, you're wasting your time. Maybe when you wake up in the morning, see, but sales is a gift. That dude that keep winning team member of the year from the comfortable background.
I had the privilege several years ago, I was invited by these businessmen in South Africa to come over. Yeah. Everybody here from South Africa? I love it. I love it. Cape Town and Sydney are two of my favorite cities in all the world. But I was over there ministering for a bunch of Christian businessmen who had come into an abundance of wealth, and they wanted to submit all that they had into the hands of God, and they invited me over to talk to them both about business and about faith, and just a small group. Wasn't a big crowd of people, but it was an amazing time. And one of the benefits that they gave me for being over there is one of them had such influence. He said, when you get through working, we're going to take you on a safari. And being a hillbilly from the sticks of West Virginia, I thought that was pretty cool. And I got real excited. I had my son with me, and I had my wife with me, and I'd never been on a safari before, so I went out and bought me some safari clothes. Because you got to coordinate everything. You got to be looking good when you're out there with the elephants and stuff, you know, because they might take pictures of you or something. So I looked like I knew what I was doing. I was excited, and they said, we're going to take you over in a little plane, and you're going to land on the runway and everything like that. And it's kind of out in a little remote area, but it's going to be cool. And we got on the little plane. I was cool, and my son was cool, and my wife was there. Yeah, she was there. And I was really cool with it because I pictured a runway with a tower and a control tower and everything. There was no control tower anywhere. There was a little runway, just a strip going through the jungle, no lights or nothing on it. And we had to wait before we land because there was a rhinoceros out in the middle of the runway. And all of a sudden, I knew this wasn't going to exactly be like what I had in mind when I started, but I was still cool because the little boy in me is kind of crazy and rough, and I thought, oh, this is going to be good. And my son was down with it. He's ready to go do it. And my wife was just there. They took us out to this, it was like a monstrosity of a mansion out in the middle of the jungle, and it was really cool. It was J. Paul Getty's house, and it was really someplace that I couldn't have gone had they not just allowed me to go, and it was wonderful. It was real plush. It was real nice. I was having a good time, so they said, don't go out the house at night, you know, because the animals are free. Now, you have to understand, in the States, we have animals, but they're in cages and stuff like that. And we're free, and the animals are in cages. And so this was an international concept that I was not exactly familiar with. I decided I was going to go anyway. So my son and I, we put on our outfits, and we got up early that morning, and we said, we're going out on the safari. And they brought this big old Jeep up, and we got on the Jeep, and I said, are you ready, Dad? He said, yeah, Dad, I'm ready. We jumped on the Jeep. My wife wasn't there. She felt led of the Lord to stay at home and pray for us. So we got on the Jeep and we're riding out there, and it was interesting because the guy who was giving us this tour and going to show us all of these unique animals, I mean lions and elephants and all of this fantastic stuff, he was a zoologist, and it was amazing. It was amazing because he knew all of this stuff about the animals, how the animals' teeth were cut a certain way so that when they bit into certain branches, the branches were cut in such a way that they would be pruned and still be fruitful. It was amazing how smart our God is.
create images in the minds of others with words. Now, I want to show you another kind of image creating that's a vital part of thinking big. Learn this skill well. Make it one of your primary success tools. The skill is simply this: learn to see what can be, not just what is. Big thinkers, all big thinkers, train themselves to see the potential in people and things and ideas, not just what exists right now. I have a friend who is a highly successful realtor. He specializes in rural property, and I'd like to take you on a brief outing with him to hear what he has to say about seeing the potential in things.
Oh, this is about 450 acres, kind of hilly as you can see. Scruffy undergrowth, little skimpy secondary growth trees. Not exactly farm beautiful, is it? You know, most of the rural property around here is pretty run down like this. But I think I'm successful because I developed my entire sales plan around what this place can be. Now let me show you what I've done with this farm. I've spent 2 days just studying it and trying to imagine what it could be. Here we have 85 acres of bottomland, we got 115 acres of woods, about 200 acres of pasture, and we're 45 minutes from town, about a stone's throw from the freeway, and 35 miles from the airport. Well, I've asked myself, what's this farm good for? Well, here's one possibility. Here, this is a plan for a horse riding stable. I've got it all typed up here, you see. As you can see, we've got all the right ingredients. A rapidly growing city nearby. You can hear the construction from here. Lots of new families moving in. I mean, it's built and designed for families around here. Here's a report that states that the outdoor activities are the fastest growing recreational form that there is right now. You've got good pasture and some nice hills, and they're not too steep, right? You can support lots of horses right here. Grow your own barley, your own wheat and grain. That way, all of the revenue produced in this property stays right here for the profit of the buyer. With a minimal amount of landscaping, you can put in some trails, run them over the hills, down to the river. I mean, can't you see people riding their horses over the top of that hill, back up through the gorge? You see, this way, when I talk to prospects, I don't have to convince them that this place is a good buy just as it is. I can help them actually see it turned into a money-making venture. That has added bonuses too. I can sell more farms and sell them faster this way. And on top of that, I can sell them usually for more money than my competitors, because they're not just buying a farm. They're buying a farm and an idea.
Once again, the moral to this true story is this: look at things not as they are, but as they can be. Visualization, you see, adds value to everything. A big thinker always visualizes what can be done in the future and doesn't limit himself to the present. And always remember, this principle doesn't just apply to things. It applies to people as well. If you can see the potential in a customer who comes into your store and spends, say, $5, then you create the possibility that the customer will come back again, and next time spend $500. If you drive through Skid Row and see just a bunch of broken down stumblebums and winos, then you're not thinking big. There are a few devoted individuals who can see in those Skid Row residents a lot of human potential. And because they can see this potential, those few people are able to help a lot of those unfortunate people get back on their feet. The best teachers are the ones who see Jimmy not as a little troublemaker who talks too much, but as an energetic, bright kid who needs a special challenge to get motivated. This teacher isn't seeing Jimmy as he is, but as Jimmy can be. Now, turn this idea inward and look at yourself. What about your own potential, your own worth? If you were to go in for salary negotiations with your boss tomorrow, how would you present yourself? Would you see yourself exactly as you are today? Or would you see the potential you have to offer, the executive you can be in 2 years, or the sales you can bring in over the next 5 years? Are you looking at yourself only in the present, or do you see yourself as a person you can be at some point in the future? The way to develop the power to see what can be, not just what is to practice adding value to things, people, and ideas. Now, here are some exercises that will help you do this.
First, practice adding value to things. Remember the real estate salesman and ask yourself, what can I do to add value to this room? or this house, or this business. Look for ideas to make things worth more. Anything, whether it's a vacant lot or a new house or a business, has value in proportion to the ideas for using it. And practice adding value to people. As you move higher and higher in the world of success, more and more of your job will become people development. So ask, what can I do to add value to my subordinates? How can I help them be more effective? Remember, to bring out the best in a person, you must first visualize their best. And finally, practice adding value to yourself. Conduct a daily interview with yourself and ask, what can I do to make myself more valuable today? Visualize yourself not as you are, but as you can be. Then, specific ways for attaining your potential value will begin to suggest themselves.
There is no such thing as a perfectly smooth, trouble-free road to success. You can be sure there are plenty of bumps on everyone's path to fulfillment. Nothing worthwhile comes easily, but there is something that you can do that will help to at least smooth out some of these minor bumps, and I can sum it up for you in one short sentence. Don't concern yourself with trivia. Now that sounds simple, but the fact is that it's often much easier to get caught up in trivia than to avoid it, simply because of our habits. For example, ask yourself this question: why do people quarrel? At least 90% of our quarrels are over trivial concerns. Somebody's late, or somebody forgot to buy something at the store, or somebody bought the wrong brand. Now, to become a big thinker, you need to eliminate as many of these bumps and potholes from your personal road to success as you can. So the next time a trivial matter comes up, ask yourself, is this really important? Does it really matter which route I take to the airport? Does it really matter if someone forgets to put the cap on the toothpaste? Is it really important that your spouse invited someone to the party you don't like or squandered a little bit too much money? When you fix your mental gaze on the big picture and remember the goal that you're working toward, success, fulfillment, and happiness, you'll find that many of these potential quarrels simply aren't important enough to warrant an argument. Just asking that question, is it really important, works wonders at the office too. It works in the traffic going home when another driver tries to cut you off. It works when you might get the smallest office in the renovation plan. It works when you overlook the small, annoying habits of your fellow workers. And it works when you're solving problems, or counseling employees, or making decisions about your career. Just don't get caught up in trivia.
So they took the crown off this woman's head and put it on the other woman. This is horrible for this young girl. So I'm in the back. I go to the press conference. It's horrible. It's horrible. It's over with. I go to sleep about 2 o'clock in the morning. I can't sleep. It's 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm getting up to leave Las Vegas to go home. I go outside. Reporters are everywhere. I get on the plane. Reporters are everywhere. I land in Atlanta. Reporters are everywhere. How could you? You're the stupidest person. This is the biggest mistake ever. I could do nothing. I could not leave my house for days. People were driving by my house tying notes on rocks and throwing it over the gate with names on it. It was horrible. Within 48 hours, my name, Steve Harvey, had been Googled 4 billion times. 4 billion times in 48 hours. I was the most famous person on planet Earth in 48 hours. God had increased my global brand and persona. I did not appreciate the way he did it, but I was the most famous person in the world for 48 hours. That was a big fall. That was a fault. They wrote about me in the papers. His career is over. He's ruined. He will never recover from this. He is not going to be on TV anymore. How could you? They wrote that all about me. But they did not know that the God I serve is in control of my life. Not them. Not the media. None of them. It is God. And so he had a different plan for me, because I had gotten up so many times before, because I had fallen. I was homeless for years and lived in a car. He got me up. I lost my mother. He picked me up. I lost my father 3 years later. He picked me up. My big brother died. He picked pick me up. He kept picking me up. I am so used to getting up, to getting back up. Every time I get knocked down, I keep getting back up over and over and over again. So let me show you something about you. Let me teach you something now. All of you in here have had some bad days. All of you in here have had some days where you felt like you wasn't gonna make it. All of you in here have had some crushing things happen to you and you did not see no way you was gonna make it. All of you in here have felt so badly sometimes you did not know what to do. But let me tell you something about you. Your track record for surviving bad days is 100%.
It's easy to get trapped by economic necessity and settle for existence rather than substance. That's easy. But the best advice I can give you on how to break out of that trap is to learn how to set goals. Mr. Shelf put it to me this way. He said, Jim, if you had enough reasons, you could do the most incredible things. I never forgot how he put that. If you have enough reasons. See, reasons will change your whole life. Mr. Shelf said to me, he said, Mr. Rohn, I think you've got plenty of intelligence, you've got plenty of talent, you've got plenty of ability. Probably what you lack is plenty of reasons. He said, I don't think your current bank balance is a true indication of your level of intelligence. I was happy to hear that. He said, I think you're much smarter than your present bank balance indicates. And that turned out to be true. I was much smarter. But of course my first question was, well then why isn't it bigger? And he said, you don't have enough reasons. You've got enough intelligence, but not enough reasons. So see, reasons can change your life. Here's what else I found out. Reasons come first, answers come second. You don't get the answers to do well till you get the reasons. Life has a mysterious way of hanging on to all the answers and only gives them up to the people that are inspired by reasons. So reasons make the difference in how your life works out. Now, what are some of the reasons for doing well? Let's go through a quick list called Reasons for Doing Well. First is personal reasons. Some people do well for recognition. Some people do well for respect. Some people do well for the way it makes them feel. They love the feeling of being a winner. Those are good reasons. I have some millionaire friends that keep working 10, 12 hours a day, making more millions. And it's not because they need the money. It's because they need the joy and the satisfaction and the pleasure that comes from being a constant winner. And see, it's not just the money anyway. It's the journey, not the money. Once in a while somebody says to me, boy, if I had $1 million, I'd never work another day in my life. That's probably why the good Lord sees to it they don't get their million, right? They'd quit. They'd quit. Okay. Next is family reasons. Some people do extremely well for other people, and that's powerful. Human beings can greatly affect each other. Sometimes we will do things for somebody else we will not do for ourselves. We're made that way. I met a man one time who said, Mr. Rohn, to do all the things I want to do with my family around the world, he said, I got to have at least $250,000 a year. I thought, incredible. Could a guy's family affect him that much? And the answer is, of course. How fortunate are the people that find themselves greatly affected by somebody for personal achievement. And we are affected. The writer of a recent song said, if not for you, the winter would hold no spring, couldn't hear a robin sing. I just wouldn't have a clue if not for you. So we can be affected. That might be one of the most stimulating reasons to do well, finding somebody. When Andrew Carnegie died, the wee little Scotsman that built the big steel industry, when he died, they opened up his desk, and in one of the desk drawers, they found a slip of paper. On that piece of paper, Mr. Carnegie had written his goal for his life, and he wrote it when he was in his 20s. And on that piece of paper, it said, I'm going to spend the first half of my life accumulating money. I'm going to spend the last half of my life giving it all away. What a goal. He got so inspired by that goal that the first half of his life, he accumulated $450 million. And the last half of his life, he gave it all away. Good question tonight. What's got you turned on? What's got you bombed out of sight to get up early and stay up late and hit it all day? Next question. What's got you turned off? When I found the answers to those two questions, my life exploded into change. I finally found out what had me turned off, and I got that cured. And then I got me a long enough list of reasons to turn me on. And once the lights went on for me, age 25, they've never gone out. I've fallen out of the sky a few times, but I've never lost that drive to make something unique out of my life. See, reasons altered my whole life. Now, there's another list of reasons called nitty-gritty. Hard little reasons. Sometimes those little reasons are the most powerful reasons that can change your life. Sometimes it doesn't take much. I now carry several $100s in my money clip. It's only a few $100s, but it was one of those reasons turned my life around. Just before I met Mr. Shof, I heard a knock at the door. I go to the door, and there's a little girl standing there about this tall selling Girl Scout cookies. And she gave me one of the finest sales presentations I've ever heard. Special deal, several flavors, this whole package of stuff, $2. And with a big smile, she very politely asked me to buy. And I wanted to. Big problem. I'm broke. I don't have $2. And to this day, I can remember the pain and the embarrassment. I'm a father. I'm a husband. I've been to college. I'm working. I'm 25. I don't have $2. And I didn't want to tell her that for some reason. So I did what I thought was next best. I lied to her. I said, hey, look, I've already bought lots of Girl Scout cookies. I've still got plenty stacked in the house, which was not true. But it seemed to get me off the hook for the moment. She said, well, gosh, that's wonderful. Thank you very much. And she went away. When she left, I closed the door, and that was the day I said to myself, I don't want to live like this anymore. I've had it with lying, and I've had it with being broke. I'm never going to let this happen to me ever again. I promised that day I would work as hard as possible and would always carry plenty. It took me a little while, but now I do. It was one of those reasons. And I guess I carry plenty for two reasons. One is the way it makes me feel, but also in case I bump into another Girl Scout selling cookies. Right? I'm ready. I walked out of the Bank of America one time up in Saratoga, California, where I used to live. Two little girls selling candy right outside the bank. Good place. Some girls' organization they're working for, right? I come walking out of the bank. This first little girl walks up to me. She said, Mister, would you like to buy some candy? I said, I probably would. What kind is it? She said, it's almond roca. I said, my gosh, that's my favorite. She said, wonderful. I said, how much is it? She said, it's just $2. I thought, incredible. I said, how many boxes of that candy have you got? She said, 5. And her little friend was there. She was selling candy too. I said, how many boxes have you got? She said, I've got 4. I said, that's 9. I'll take them all. They said, really? I said, yeah, it's my favorite. I've got some friends. I'll pass them around. They got so excited, put all this candy together. I reached in my pocket, gave them the $18. When I've got the candy and they've got the money, that first little girl looks up at me. She says, Mister, you are really something. How about that? Can you imagine only spending $18 and have somebody look at you in the face and say, you are really something? Now you know why I carry heavy, right? I'm not going to miss anymore. It was just one of those reasons. Helped to change my life. One of my nitty-gritty reasons was budget finance. Budget finance used to grind my soul. Way back in those early days, I had fallen for one of those consolidation loans, where you take all your little hard-to-pay bills, put them into one big impossible-to-pay bill, right? I would get 4 or 5 payments behind. This one guy used to call me day and night. I don't think they're allowed to do that anymore. Harassed me. Threatened to run me in front of the judge. Threatened to ruin my credit. Threatened to embarrass my family. One day he said, we're going to come get your car, drag it rear end up down the street in front of your neighbors. The guy even called me a flake. And back in those days, I'm broke, I'm pitiful, there's nothing I can do about it. But I never forgot how the guy treated me. And when I met Mr. Shoaf, and I got my life straightened out, and the money started to flow, that was one of my first projects, budget finance. I poured it on day and night. I finally put all the money together I owed him, which was considerable. I picked a day for the payoff. And when the payoff day came, I put the money in small bills in a big briefcase. And I walked into the budget finance office on Wilshire Boulevard in Los Angeles. The guy who harassed me so often, his desk was about 3 back. I walked right up to his desk, startled him. You wonder what I was doing there? It was the first time I'd been there since I'd borrowed the money, right? Without saying a word, I opened up this briefcase, dumped this pile of money all over his desk. I said, count it. It's all there. I will never be back. And I turned around and stormed out. Now, that might not be noble, but if you haven't tried it, you've got to one time. It can be the day that turns your life around. All you need is a reason that turns you on. One of my dear friends, Robert Depew, Bobby used to be a school teacher in Lindsay, olive capital of the world. Bobby taught school several years, got a little weary teaching school. One day decided he wanted to get into sales. So without telling anybody, he just up and quit his job teaching school and jumped into sales. When he did, his brother made fun of him, laughed at him, put him down, said Robert's lost his mind. Had a good job teaching school, now he thinks he's a salesman. He's going to go down the drain, lose everything. Just put him down something fierce. Bobby said, the way my brother acted when I got into sales, he said that made me so mad, I decided to get rich. And my question for you tonight is it possible to get that mad? Of course. Wealth is not a matter of intelligence. It's a matter of inspiration. Today, Robert happens to be one of my millionaire friends. Bobby's rich. Frank Sinatra said one time, the best revenge is massive success. Hey, get you a long enough list of reasons so that after tonight you never lack for inspiration. You might not have all the answers right away, but you can get the answers if you can get the reasons.